Lawmakers here at the Capitol hold an emotional hearing on a bill that would create stiff penalties for folks in cars who aren't using hands-free cell phones.
Wild pigs running loose in a Decatur neighborhood, and homeowners want them caught. It's a problem that might not have a short-term fix.
Right now, it's a parking lot filled with utility poles and power trucks. But soon, you'll see a whole different type of energy coming from the old Fourth Ward.
Live from Atlanta, 11Alive at 6 starts now.
Christmas Eve, she was pronounced brain dead. Christmas Day, she was taken off of life support.
First this evening, an emotional and difficult day at the state capitol. The woman you just heard from is one of 3 mothers who testified today about accidents in which their children were killed by distracted driving.
The mothers are all supporting a bill that would change the way a lot of us use our phones when we're in our cars. 11Alive's Doug Richards live this evening at the Capitol to explain how that proposal would work. Doug?
Well, Ryan, this is certainly one of those rare bills in the legislature that would really impact the everyday lives of Georgians, those of us who drive and use our cell phones at the same time. And the moms who testified at this hearing today say this bill is long overdue.
She was a beautiful, vibrant 20-year-old junior nursing student at Georgia Southern University.
Kathy Clark lost her daughter Emily in 2015. She was one of 5 nursing students whose car was slammed by a tractor trailer on I-16, driven by a man who told police he had no idea the car was in front of him.
This bill has the ability to save lives for every driver, every passenger, and every pedestrian in Georgia.
Natalie Bacco's daughter Abby was 9 years old when a driver plowed into the family minivan and took Abby's life.
All of this was caused by an 18-year-old driver who ran a red light as he was in a series of phone calls.
She too supports the bill. It would outlaw phone use by hand and would provide stiff penalties that increase with repeated convictions. It would allow one swipe or touch of a phone to answer or make a call, and it would allow hands-free GPS use.
My son Parker was killed by a distracted driver.
Sherry Madliak's son Parker was walking in Noonan when a driver swerved his car off the road and struck him. Many backers of the bill want to see distracted driving take on the same cultural stigma as drunk driving.
I sit at a traffic light and see people all around me texting and talking and not paying attention. This carelessness took my son. We will always miss him.
One committee member, Representative Ed Setzler, a Republican from Ackworth, questioned the bill a little bit. He said that there are lots of distractions, not just cell phones. He talked about people talking with passengers in their cars. He talked about the distraction of using a 5-speed manual transmission. His opinions and many others will weigh in before this bill gets out of this committee. Back to you.
This is a law that's been in place in some states for better than a decade, however, so we are now tackling this issue. Doug, I do have a question for you about it, though.
That's right.
Do they know exactly what the fine will be and whether or not an officer can pull someone over just for using the device?
The answer is the fines will be in the hundreds of dollars, and if it's a repeat fine, you'll also get points. And the answer to the second question is that if an officer sees you using has probable cause to think that you are using a cell phone with your hands, he could pull you over, yes.
Gotcha. Doug Richards, thank you very much. Some new developments this evening. A father in Villa Rica is now facing murder charges for allegedly beating his young stepson. Joshua Richards was arrested last week for allegedly beating the 3-year-old with a belt. The boy, Bentley, was injured so badly he had to be airlifted to the hospital. He died yesterday. Richards, who happens to be the son of a Carrollton police chief, now remains in jail. He was denied bond at the first court appearance. That was last week. Police say they're continuing to investigate the toddler's death.
Tonight, 3 children have been taken to the hospital after a school bus accident in DeKalb County. It happened on 285 and I-20 this afternoon. It doesn't appear that the 3 kids were seriously hurt. We've asked police whether anyone will be charged, but it's still unclear at this point. Right now, a jury is deliberating the fate of a teen accused of killing a veteran. Closing arguments just wrapped up this afternoon in the Tariq Vasquez trial. Back in 2016, Vasquez was just 16 years old when prosecutors say he murdered Sergeant Major Randy Smith, who happened to own a rental property next door. In a rare move, a judge granted Vasquez bond, allowing him to await trial from his home rather than behind bars. The decision infuriated Smith's wife, who started a petition, gathering more than 1,000 signatures.
All new at 6 o'clock, we are getting our first opportunity to look at a development project in the old Fourth Ward, which could radically change our skyline. It's a multi-million-dollar deal that will add 10 acres of shops and offices and apartments as well. We have a lot of apartments, don't we? Some people who live there, however, are worried that another project could actually price them out of their neighborhood. Caitlin Ross got some answers from the developer. Caitlin?
Melissa, that is something he's concerned about. Jim Warren told me he met with people in the neighborhood surrounding the project more than 50 times before they finalized their plans. In between the art and innovation of the Beltline and the history and culture of the old Fourth Ward sits a parking lot.
It has really been this sort of fortress of surface parking.
Developer Jim Irwin says when Georgia Power decided to sell the huge piece of property, he was the first one in line.
It's arguably one of the most important pieces of property in the entire city.
But with millions of dollars in development, Irwin says they'll also keep part of it affordable. A new Atlanta zoning law requires any apartment buildings in the area to include 10 to 15% of affordable housing, meaning someone who makes less than $40,000 a year could afford to live there.
We're prepared to work with him and City Council to deliver on those affordable housing requirements as part of our overall zoning process.
He says he doesn't want to push anyone out or change the look of the community with this project.
What I didn't want to do was to build a big blue glass structure that would look like anything you'd see in Midtown or Buckhead.
Drawings of the planned development show 800,000 square feet of retail space, 700 apartments, and a boutique hotel, which he hopes will have people all over the country talking.
We, as a city, for so long, love to compare ourselves to other cities. You know, I really wish we could be like Chicago in this way. I really wish we could be like New York or San Francisco or these other cities. And really, you know, as an Atlanta native, my goal is for other cities to come and want to emulate us.
And they plan to move quickly with this project. He told me the latest they'll break ground is March of 2019. And while it is next to the Beltline, this is an entirely different project that's 100% privately funded.
Caitlin, thank you. We're going to turn to weather now with Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb. Chris, we had a nice day today, but a little bit of chill coming this afternoon or this evening.
Yeah, cold front's on the way. It has limited moisture with it, so the cold front's going to do a couple things for us. Number one, the main thing is going to bring us all another surge of cold air. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to bring a little bit of snow flurry activity through parts of Tennessee, and a little bit of that can make it down into North Georgia. Most of this moisture is going to stay well up to the north, and that's going to move to the east. But this trailing part of the front, where you see some of those flurries moving through Nashville, will sweep through our area. And in the mountains of North Georgia tonight, just a chance for a few flurries. It's not going to be anything major at all. Ahead of this front, temperatures today have been in the 50s. We're at 53 right now. We topped off at 57 this afternoon. Behind the front, it is going to be getting colder pretty quickly going through the evening hours. In fact, once we see the sun go down, we're going to watch those temperatures fall into the 40s, and then they'll keep on moving down at 11 o'clock, low 40s, midnight, upper 30s, and then moving on down by tomorrow morning, we'll be below freezing once again. Stay with us. We'll talk about not only those snow flurry risks for tonight, but some additional chances later in the week into the weekend for North Georgia. We'll have more on that in just a bit.
The story we're about to share is very alarming. 350 children purchased for sex in our state every single month. The average age, 12 to 14 years old. And that's why state and local officials are sounding the alarm. Today at the airport, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, along with State Attorney General Chris Carr, and airport officials shared some of the warning signs of human sex trafficking. 11Alive, as you know, has done extensive coverage of this issue in our series called Selling Girls. Mayor Bottoms says the city attracts more visitors on high-profile events, so it's an increasing problem. She says one of the ways the city is combating traffickers, creating a new position at City Hall to focus solely on this issue.
The appointment has not been made yet, but we do have the position, and we will begin vetting candidates. And we are already looking at some candidates, so it will happen very soon.
If a situation doesn't look right, say something. Here are some of the warning signs. Children who avoid eye contact or social interaction, or who use scripted responses. Also, watch out for overly controlling adults. There is a difference between firm parenting and someone mistreating a child, and you should be concerned about children who look malnourished. In the end, officials say it's better to be cautious and call 911 rather than just look the other way. Ryan?
Right now, the flu season is so bad that Grady Hospital is installing a mobile emergency room in the parking lot to handle all of the flu patients. So far this season, 25 people in our state have died from the flu. More than 670 people have been hospitalized, and those numbers are up significantly from the last flu season. John Schierick is at Grady with the story tonight.
Grady Hospital in downtown Atlanta is seeing a 25% increase in emergency room patients every day because of the flu. So to handle the overflow, Grady is setting up this mobile emergency department in the parking lot next to the hospital. Grady contracted with Carolina's healthcare system to use it for at least 30 days. A fully functioning emergency department that will allow doctors and staff to see dozens of flu patients right away instead of making them wait in the regular emergency department inside the hospital. Dr. Hani Atala is Grady's chief of emergency medicine.
We should be able to get up to about at least 100 patients a day.
That is really a lifesaver for you, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Just being able to have the additional space and the state-of-the-art equipment.
Other hospitals in the state are also looking at deploying temporary flu emergency facilities in their parking lots as this flu emergency gets worse. From Grady Hospital in downtown Atlanta, John Schierick, 11Alive News.
Wild hogs caught on video and surveillance in metro Atlanta. Why some homeowners say this is a real problem.